Hey everybody, Mr. Burt here again. We're going to give you a quick tutorial on how to get through the introduction to the Unit 2, Analyzing Elements of Literature with our new book, The Outsiders. So go ahead and get to Google Classroom and follow the next few steps. Make sure you go to Classwork. We're going to go down to our Lessons tab. Make sure you click Open Unit 2. It should say Analyzing Elements of Fiction within The Outsiders. If you notice through here, we got a lot of stuff already in here. Intro is something that you're going to need to pull up. And lesson 1 is something you're also going to need to pull up. So go ahead and get those loaded. Notice lesson 2 and 3 are in here. We have Outsiders, chapter 1 on the audiobook. You may also pull that open if you want to listen to it, but it is also embedded in your slides for lesson 1, so no need to necessarily do that unless you just want to have a separate tab. As we go down, we got lesson 4 and 5 and then chapter 2. I will be, as the unit goes on, I will be adding to this, so make sure you just kind of keep that in mind if you're in ISS, OSS, or absent from school. In the meantime, let's go ahead and go to our introduction to the Outsiders, and go ahead and load it up. Alright, so the new story, what we're going to be looking at, is called The Outsiders. It's a famous book from the 1960s, and this is just a picture from the movie. What we're going to be talking about, and what a lot of our focus is today, is going to be on analyzing elements of fiction, particularly the exposition, the first part of the story where we learn about the setting, the conflict, and the characters. But before we do that, I want to take some time and go through and just get some background on who our characters are and what the times were like at the time. Focus questions of the day. How do perceptions lead to stereotyping and pressure to conform or to fit in? Why is it important to recognize that all people have common life experiences that are both positive and negative? It's not just that the good guy is 100% good. There is some bad about them or some negative about them. And all bad guys are not just negative influences. They have some good qualities about them. Humanity seems to lie in this middle ground between because of these two things, that we all have positive and negative things about us. Third question, what does loyalty and rivalry mean? And fourthly, what does power mean? These all connect us to our stories and some of the characters. Go ahead and take a brief minute or two to read through here. I'll explain it in a second. Go ahead and take time to pause and we'll talk about it. Alright, so coming of age is usually a story about a younger character who learns to grow up in some way, shape, or form. They encounter some sort of struggle, and that's what we have here. Our main character is younger, and he's forced to mature and grow up through some conflicting events. The Outsiders was known as the first young adult novel, written by S.E. Hinton when she was 15 and 16 years old as a junior in high school. She actually got the idea for the story after a friend of hers was bullied and beaten up. But it became more than just about a voice against violence. It became the story about humanity's struggle to find common ground on its economic and social classes. What we're talking about here with economic is money. So the balance between rich people and poor people, even that middle class as well. So we're talking about money when we talk about economic classes. Now social classes, these are a little bit more common, that are a little bit more easy to understand. In 8th grade, we have a lot of social classes, and we have the cliche ones like the jocks, the nerds, the music people, the drama people, those little cliquey cliche groups that we end up finding ourselves in. Most of us are in multiple social groups, but just know that we're going to be talking about differences between social classes and economic classes, mostly rich versus poor, and how they divide themselves into different social classes, like the greasers and the socialists. Go ahead and take time to pause this. You guys may click this video. It's a book trailer. Try to keep an ear out for S.E. Hinton's narration in the background. She's going to give you a couple clues about what's going on in the movie. Take time to do so now. Alright, we're going to take some time to look at some similarities and differences of the world between then and now, the 1960s. These are some book covers from the top left, from the 67 cover, all the way up to the most current one here. S.E. Hinton, then and now. Some music. If you guys click on these slides here, you can actually go to some interactives. Let's click on Johnny Cash. We'll see. We'll go to a YouTube video. Bound by wild desire. Alright, so as you see, if you click the interactives here, you can go listen to some of the samples of the music from the 60s here. These are 3 of the most popular guys here, and then some music from now. You guys are probably familiar with Beyonce and Drake, but if you're not, you can go check out some of the Black Keys stuff. It's one of my favorite bands right there. Some of the cars from the day. Some of the hairstyles. No, I think the girls are a lot different in their hairstyles now. We don't have the shorter haircut and with the bob anymore, but the boys seem to be really similar to then and now. A lot of the high and tight on the sides and the back. This really top flow on the top of the head. Kind of crazy how things come back around. Some pictures of different clothing from then and now. Different places of hangouts of then and now. Go ahead and take some time if you'd like to pause and read through this little text sample down here. It's talking about who Paul Newman and James Dean were and why they might be relevant to our story. But if you click on the little pictures here, they will play some video clips from some very famous movies. Paul Newman in Cool Hand Luke was a rebel who liked to get in trouble and didn't care what anybody said or how much trouble he got in. He just kept doing it and laughed in their face while doing it. James Dean was more of the sensitive character in this movie called Rebel Without a Cause, but still very much a rebel. Like I said, read the text down here, and then you can watch some of the video clips on your own. Some of the characters. Alright, so Ponyboy Curtis is the third youngest of three brothers. He's our main character and also our narrator. He actually does not like fighting and mumbles. I don't know, that must be a typo in here. But he does like hanging out with his friends and believes that the Greaser group is his family, even though they're not related by blood. We're going to be talking a lot about Ponyboy because he's our narrator, so we'll just leave it there and get introduced to him as we go. Derry, or Daryl Curtis, is the oldest of the three brothers, known as 6'2", broad-shouldered, and very muscular. He's the oldest, strongest leader of the group, believes that the Greasers should stay out of trouble, and believes that his brothers should be more responsible. He knows that the Greasers have a target on their back from the cops because they're the poorer, more greasy or dirty group. They get picked on a lot more. They don't get away with as much as the Socials do, who are a little bit more rich. People seem to forgive them a lot more easily. So he tries to keep them out of a lot of trouble. Not that Derry doesn't like to have fun. He just doesn't have fun because he has too many responsibilities of taking care of the gang and his younger brothers. Soda Pop Curtis, known as Soda, is the middle of the three brothers. He's the ladies' man, the heartthrob, and just the overall positive force of life in the group. He makes everybody a lot more fun, and he's fun to be around. He's very compassionate and kind, and super understanding. In fact, Ponyboy says early in the book that he loves Soda Pop more than anybody else because of that reason. Moving on. Johnny Cade is the youngest and the runt of the group, often described as the pet of the group. He's not very much like the Greasers except for the fact that he's poor and kind of dirty like they are, but he's not tough. He doesn't like to fight. He's kind of a pipsqueak a little bit, and like I said, not like the rest of the Greasers, but they enjoy keeping him around because they enjoy taking care of him, if that makes sense. And he needs them to take care of him because he doesn't have a very good home life. So they all kind of rally around Johnny and help take care of him. Dallas Winston, or short for Dally, is the meanest of all the Greasers, has a police record. He's from the wrong side, what's described as the wrong side of New York. He was in some gangs up there. He enjoys fighting and being mean and cruel to other people. Ponyboy doesn't like Dally as much. He loves him in a way because he's a Greaser, but doesn't like him because he enjoys being mean and hurting people. But kind of the bad boy of the group. Two-Bit Matthews is an 18-and-a-half-year-old junior in high school. Doesn't do so good at school, but likes school because he likes to get in fights, he likes the girls, and he likes being involved with the Greasers and the social scene. He's kind of like the joker of the group that is always kind of wisecracking and enjoys getting himself into a little bit of trouble. Sherry Valance, also known as Cherry because of her red hair, is a spy for the Greasers. She's Bob Sheldon's girlfriend, who we'll see later in the story. She's a cheerleader and likes the Beatles, so a little bit more of this preppy group. But she doesn't believe in fighting, doesn't like treating people badly, so ultimately she turns and becomes a spy for the Greasers and helps them out. A couple things I want you to notice. Just take some time. Notice the difference in the names between the Greasers and the Socials. We have some more traditional, very straight and narrow kind of goody two-shoe types of names like Marcia and Randy and Bob and Paul and David. But over here we got a lot more names like nicknames like Johnny, Ponyboy, Dally, Derry, soda, 2-bit, curly. So we even have some differentiation in the names of the social groups here. All right, go ahead and watch this video if you like, but please, please, please stop at minute 245 or sooner. Otherwise, you'll get too much of the stuff from the story, too many details from the story revealed to you. This is just meant to be a teaser, so please either don't watch it or stop it early. In the meantime, we're going to move over now to lesson 1. And lesson 1 looks like this. Alright, so lesson 1 from the outside is going to be focused on the exposition, specifically things that deal with the character relationships, conflict, and the setting. So as we read, we're going to make sure that we slow down and pay attention to those 3 things. And we're going to see all of these things really develop within the first 2 to 3 pages or so. So we're going to keep our eyes out for it. But first, let's do a quick review. One thing I want to touch upon is the plot line. The exposition and what I just mentioned is these 3 parts, setting, characters, and conflict, and it should be introduced right here at the beginning of the story. Setting is where and when the story takes place. It's also the social scenario or the cultural scenario of the story. So in this case, we have 2 social groups, the Greasers and the Socias, who do not like each other simply because they come from different kinds of wealth and social groups. We'll get introduced to the characters and the conflict here. Now, I want to point something out. The conflict is put in the middle of the plot coaster, and it's a circle for a reason. I want you to imagine it's kind of like the gear or the mechanism that pulls the roller coaster. Every piece, the setting, the characters, the rising action and all of that, all interact and are influenced by the conflict or the problem in the story. Now, we know we can have multiple conflicts, but this is the main artery of the conflict, the main problem in the story that drives it forward. As the tension grows higher, we call that the rising action. Eventually it gets to the highest point of excitement, and we call it the climax. At some point it turns, and we get the falling action, probably toward the last 10 to 30 pages of your book, where events begin to show the conflict is being resolved or will be fixed soon. And then finally we get to the resolution where the conflict is completely or mostly fixed, or the tension is coming to an end. So I just wanted to review the parts of plot and make sure that you're thinking about the story as a plot line. Setting, this would be something to take time on to take notes about in your notebook. Setting is the time, the place, and the climate. We should know that all now. But it's also the social situation or the cultural situation in which the story takes place. I want to make sure you have this written down, so go ahead and pause and do so now. We need to know that the setting influences the plot. Certain actions are more likely to take place in specific environments. For example, there is not going to be a conflict of a shark attack in suburban St. Louis. That would happen more likely at the beach. My point being that certain events, certain conflicts will take place because of the setting that they're in, the time, the place, and the cultural scenario. So we're going to be taking a look at that through the first couple pages. One more thing I want you to in your notes. The conflict is the struggle or the problem the main character faces. Now, you only really need to have these 2 words, struggle and problem. I think we know enough about conflict. We can either not take the notes or just take these 2 words down and be refamiliarized. A couple things I want to notice here. We got some types of conflicts. Okay, we have man versus man or character versus character. This is known as like the Harry Potter versus Voldemort, good guy versus bad guy type of example. Make sure you have that listed down. Character versus nature. Okay, and then the one we're dealing with, character versus society, where the character fights for freedom or rights or a cause or battles some sort of social injustice. In this case, socials versus the Greasers. We also have man versus self or character versus self, where they asking to signpost tough questions or have some sort of internal struggle with themselves. As we read through the next few pages, I want you paying attention to these 3 things: the setting, the characters, and the conflict, and we're going to be talking about them in the next day's lessons. In the meantime, you can go to slide, I can't see the number, you can go to this slide that looks like this here, and play the audio clip. Please follow along with the instructions down here at the bottom. While you do so, take notes on setting and conflict of the story in this section, and if you want to skip ahead, you can actually get to the second part of chapter 1, where we discuss the characters and we find a little bit more about them. In the meantime, use the materials listed in your Google Classroom, and if you have any questions, as always, please email me or come see me in class tomorrow. Catch you next time. Good luck.